There's only a few things I really care about in life.
I don't know if I really want a wife and kids.
Oh, look what you did.
I look like a grandmother, but do I have any grandchildren?
If you want to lose yourself, you have to lose yourself in another person. It's a two-way thing. I thought you were different.
And maybe it's time to try something new.
New movie is Don John. Incredible cast with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Scarlett Johansson, Julianne Moore, Glenn Headley, yourself, cameos.
Brie Larson.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cameos from Channing Tatum, Anne Hathaway. How did this role come about for you?
You know, Joe called me. You know, I know him a long time. We did Angels in the Outfield together when he was 12, and which is 20 years ago. And he said he had written the script. He wanted to send me a script. He sends me the script, and I read the script, and I'll be honest with you, I went, he wrote this? You know, because it was so great. It was so funny, and it had such a message, and it's a cautionary tale. It has a lot of things going on in there, and provocative beyond belief. And then we Skyped because he was in California and I'm here in New York, and we talked for a little while. He said he wanted me to play his father. He said he hadn't thought of anybody else but me, which was very flattering, and I'm so happy to be part of it because it is a murderer's row of actors, and it just was a joy to be part of.
He's a triple threat.
That's her?
That's definitely her. Absolute triple.
Writes it, directs it, stars in it. You mentioned 20 years ago, you get to know this kid.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea?
Yeah. He was always, first of all, a very talented actor when he was 12 years old. If you watch that movie, he's brilliant in it. There's a moment when he says, "It could happen." That's just incredible. But even then, he was looking to direct because he was 12. We were rollerbladers, inline skaters. I was 43 and he was 12. But we had Oakland Alameda Stadium closed. We were working in the stadium, and you could skate all the way around the stadium on that smooth concrete. It was heaven for a skater. So we would do that, and we bonded over that. You know, and I have a paternal sort of instinct for Joe. I really do, because I know him when he was a kid. And but there were days when I would say to him, "Joe, come on, let's go skate." And he'd say, because we weren't working, and he'd say, "No, I got to follow the director today. I want to see what lens he's using." So he's always been kind of, and what's really been exciting for me, aside from being in a great movie, is that to watch this kid who I know was interested in doing this so long ago, and he's made hundreds of little movies and little things. He's been doing this a long time. To have it come to fruition like this, and you say triple threat. Don't get me wrong, acting is hard enough. Directing yourself, I don't know how you do that, because how do you not watch the other actors when you're in the scene with them? And then, but the hardest thing is the writing. He says it too. He says, you know, when you're alone when you're writing, the doubts get in, you know, they start saying, "You can't do this, somebody else could do it better," you know, all that. But he fought through that, and he wrote a great script, and that wrote a great script. It's funny, it has a message, it's provocative, it captures a moment of our culture so clearly. I think people are going to be,
When you're doing the film with him, did you have memories come back from Angels in the Outfield from 20 years ago? That experience of combining two of your loves, baseball and cinema?
Yeah, well, I remember we were watching the World Series doing that movie, and we were watching on Diamond Vision, because they put the World Series up in between takes. So we could watch the World Series. It's the one where Carter hit the home run, you know? And it was just one of the great experiences. And plus, I got to work with all sorts of pitchers to make me look like a pitcher and try to throw. It was amazing.
And sports can catalog many things in your life. You'll never forget Joe Carter's thrilling home run with the Toronto Blue Jays because of where you were.
That's right. I remember that night. Holy man! And the freak losing it.
Mitch Williams.
Mitch Williams, the pitcher, losing it. Yeah. You know, sports play so much in my life. You know, I have this short but really important boxing career. You know, it's important to me anyway. It changed my life in a lot of ways. You know, obviously it got me here. If it wasn't for boxing, I'm not here.
But looking back on it, boxing wasn't the plan. It's not as if you knew from the age of 7 this was your destiny. This kind of happened by accident.
Totally by accident. When I was a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn, in East New York and Brooklyn. And in East New York and Brooklyn, there was a game we used to play called fighting. You know,
it was a game.
It was a game.
Okay.
It was like, what do you want to do today? Stickball, handball? Let's fight. And we would fight with just anybody we could find. And And so I was a street fighter. I was a chronic street fighter for a lot of my youth. And I certainly was then. And my friends, as a joke, entered me in the Golden Gloves, because in New York, all you do is fill out the entry blank in the New York Daily News, and they send you a notice for your physical. I thought I got drafted. But anyway, so I went and I tried it. And I got hooked. I just thought I found the thing that I'm supposed to do. I loved it so much. And I fought another year in the Golden Gloves, and then I turned pro, and I fought for 3 years. And I was not great. I wasn't bad. I made great fights. I was, I either get knocked out or they do. So if you had a dinner reservation after the fight, you were never late. But it was a great, I got lucky,
Acting is born in some ways out of your background in boxing. Someone sees you at a gym, it leads to this,
Totally.
it leads to that.
Totally.
How do those two worlds connect for you when you look back?
Well, first of all, you know how it happened. It was a crazy thing. I met this guy, came into the gym, broke. He was broke, but he was a producer trying to produce a pilot called Augie. And Augie was a combination of Chico and the Man and Rocky. But an old fighter who owned the gym and a young fighter who trains there, and they're friends. And they rent out half of it to an aerobics instructor, which dates it immediately, but an aerobics instructor that with her class, and she has a class in the gym. All these girls, all I could think about was leg warmers. Anyway, so the wind up of the story is he's trying to get this thing off, and he sees me, he asked me if I ever thought about being an actor, and I said, no, I'm going to be champion of the world, And then he said, well, why don't you come down and read? And I said, so I went, he had a tiny little office on Madison Avenue. I read, and I went home. I thought it was a lark. One night he calls me, he says, hey, I got these two guys from NBC interested. Are you fighting soon? Because I told him about the guy that's going to star in the show. So I said, I happen to be fighting. I was fighting at the Nanuet Star Theater in Nyack. I said, it's a long ride. He says, no, we're going to come. And I needed that like a hole in the head. I was already fighting. I needed the guys from TV there. So anyway, I was fighting the state champion of Connecticut. I thought, how tough could he be? He's from Connecticut. Anyway, so the bell rang, and he has this weird move. He looks like he's throwing the right hand. He's really throwing the left hook, and I walk right into it. I just leaned into it. Down I go. And when you get hit with a right hand, you go down. But when you get with a left hook, it throws you up in the air, and you land on the back of your head with your feet up in the air, and you look stupid. And I was more embarrassed than hurt. And I jumped back up. This guy's from TV here, and I just got knocked out. I got up, and I went back. I said, well, I'll take care of this guy. He hit me the same punch. I went up in the air again, landed again. And they started counting. The whole world slowed down. He started counting 1. I heard the referee 3, 4. I heard the crowd noise. It was surreal. I looked across the ring, and the fighter was so pumped up because he thought I was going to be tougher than I was. And he was pumped up, and he looked like he was breathing fire. He was yelling. He's going, get up. And I thought to myself, should I? And then I heard the ref get close to 10, 9.5, and I got up. I take a terrible beating for the next 2 minutes. The only reason why I know is because I saw the film. I almost get knocked down for the 3rd time. I get hit on a butt, and I start to go down, but somehow I stay on my feet. And then with 15 seconds, and this is all in the same round, 15 seconds left in the round, we both throw right hands. Mine gets there first. I knock him out. People are telling me, you won. I got no idea what they're talking about, But the guy's in the audience, and he can't believe it. He just can't believe it. For a while, he was probably sitting there going, I know it was a long ride. I heard he could fight, But now here, he says to me, I could never write that. It was so great. Gets me a screen test. And somehow I end up in Jim Brooks' office reading for a show called Taxi with Mandy Patinkin, who was reading for Judd Hirsch's part. He didn't get the part, and I did. It's weird.
Incredible. That pitch meeting of...
If you don't get up, though, if I don't get up off of the canvas, I'm not here.
You think it's done?
It's
you don't
all,
think they're not... You think...
There's no way. It was the fact that I got up that made the guy get excited, and the next thing is, I really know that moment, it's very rare that the moment your life changes.
Pinpoint it.
That was it. Yes. Okay.
When we come back, Tony tries to explain why a New York kid became a Los Angeles Dodgers fan.
I became really close friends with Tommy Lasorda. He's my buddy, and he's just one of the greats. And when Tommy, Tommy's line is, if you don't root for the Dodgers, you may not get into heaven.